بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. This is Surah Al-A'raf, Surah A'raf, which is going to cover today inshallah. Surah A'raf starts from halfway of the 8th juz until about 3/4 of the 9th juz, so it's quite long, but more than 200 verses of the Quran. So Surah A'raf we're going to do today inshallah, and it's a similar timing of Surah An'am. So yesterday was Surah An'am, 6 and 7 juz of the Quran. So that was like similar timing, meaning in Makkah, mid to late Makkah. And the main kind of theme that we find in this surah is you have good and evil, and there's like a battle between the two. There's haqq and there's batil, and there's a battle between the two. There's tensions, and then there's a who wins regarding this. So there's opposites, like pairs. There's like opposites going on. There's people of Jannah, there's people of Jahannam, and they're having a conversation, and so forth. So we'll cover some parts here, and it's like continuous kind of battles. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions here, Alif Lam Mim Sad, this is that Allah mentions in surah, in verse number 7, that there are many stories in this surah, many different types of stories in this surah, which will cover quite a few of the stories inshallah. And probably half of this surah, or more than that, is full of stories. It's different story to that story to this story, and more than half of the surah actually is with stories. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions regarding the humble yourselves. Humble yourselves, show a lot of humbleness towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because how many nations have passed you? Many nations have gone past, many nations have done what they have done and have been destroyed, and now the ruins that you see today. So Allah mentions regarding that in verse number 11 to 25, you find the first story. And the first story is to do with Adam alayhi salam and Iblis, which is covered in the first juz as well, in Surah Baqarah, but this is slightly different. So Allah mentions regarding in Surah Al-A'raf, the beginning part, that humans are an honored creation, meaning there's a lots of honor amongst humans. Compared to any other creation, the angels were told to bow down towards who? It wasn't towards other angels, it wasn't towards the jinn, it wasn't towards no other creation, but it was towards human beings, towards Adam alayhi salam. So there's a lot of honor given towards human beings, but with honor and which comes with responsibilities. So if Allah gives you lots of blessings, that means you've got more responsibilities. If Allah has given you the highest job as in CEO, He's given you the boss level, then it comes with more responsibilities. You'll be held accountable, you'll be held tasked. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that you're honored. You are an honored creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when a person is honored, and when a person is given this regarding honor, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that it comes with responsibility. Not only that, you find the sin of Iblis. So Iblis in itself, he found his sin. So his sin was obviously pride. He thought he was better than the next person, and he knew, but he still rejected. So obviously when a person's got pride and he thinks I'm better than the next person, then he doesn't enter Jannah. No man will enter Jannah. No person will enter Jannah if he thinks that I am better than the next person, that I am now this and I am that, and so forth. So it's very important to realize all these different aspects as well from these stories. And also in Iblis and the story of Iblis, you find the evil of racism. And racism also crops up as well. So you find that Iblis was you can call him the first racist person. And he goes, I am differently made to him. Look how I am, I'm made like this, I'm made like that. Look how he is. And now he made a differentiating factor between the two. So I am like this and he's like that. So lots of people that have this kind of race issue is because I am of this race and they are of that race. Or I am looking like this and they look like that. Or I have these features and they have those features. So Iblis also started this as well. But also know that Iblis was Iblis. He's got his status, meaning a low status. But even he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, give me until the day of judgment. And he made dua. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted his dua. Anzirni ila yawmi yub'athun. And then Allah gave him regarding and accepted this dua. And then you find jealousy also there. So jealousy, you find the foolishness of jealousy. So sometimes you find people are jealous, and then you find out why people are jealous. So why do you do certain things out of jealousy? But you actually think about it. Iblis has a long life. He's got a long life. He's got how many thousands upon thousands of years. And what is his purpose is that I'm just going to be here, give me this long life so I can misguide the people. So I can misguide the people and then they can go to Jahannam. But what's benefit to him? What kind of benefit does he give Iblis? It gives him no benefit that more people are in Jahannam with him. It gives him no benefit behind this. He's the one that rejected. It's because of jealousy. He was jealous of humans. He was jealous that they got the honor. He was jealous, he came and he took him to foolish places. He asked him for these du'as, and then he went, and all his effort is just based upon jealousy. So why do they gain? What do they gain? They don't gain nothing from humans going towards Jahannam. It's just bitter kind of jealousy that Iblis had. So us also, if we have jealousy, sometimes it just makes you foolish and does foolish things. Oh, why do you do this? Oh, because I'm jealous of him. Then what do you gain from it? You don't gain nothing from it. So jealousy was also been mentioned regarding as a moral and as a lesson from the story of Iblis and Adam alayhi salam. And now remember this, that Iblis, what did he do? He blamed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says that you deceived me. He's saying to Allah, he goes, you deceived me. And what his job is, and he mentions Surah Al-A'raf, لَأَقْعُدَنَّ لَهُمْ صِرَاطَكَ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ. Now where will he sit? Where is he going to attack from? He's going to attack from the left, from the right, from in front of you, from behind you. And he will sit on the straight path. So everybody wants Sirat al-Mustaqim. Everybody wants to be on the straight path. Everybody wants to be on the path of guidance. So that's where he's going to stand. That's where he's going to sit. That's where he's going to do all of his misguiding. This is where he's going to be. He's not going to be in the place where other people are misguided, or that place with that person there. He's going to be on the right path. So when a person goes onto the right path, when he's on the path of istiqamah, when he's on the path of deen, of religion, this is where shaitan will come to try and disturb you. He will try to come and whisper to you. He will try and come and take you away from this path. He'll be there rather than anywhere else. That was his way of trying to deal with, he blamed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What was Adam alayhi salam? Adam alayhi salam also made a mistake. He slipped up as well. So if he slipped up, what was his reaction? Did he blame Allah? Did he blame Allah, or did he do something else? So he didn't blame Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, قَالَ رَبَّنَا ظَلَمْنَا أَنفُسَنَا, that I wronged myself. It was my fault. It was my fault. I done wrong. I regretted this. I regret regarding doing this action. I should have been obedient. So he's acknowledging his sin. He's acknowledging that he is wrong. So he wasn't perfect, but he remembered this, that he lived in Jannah for many, many years. And now he had to switch from Jannah towards this earth. And it's a completely different. Every one of us is looking forward towards Jannah. And we're like, look at this earth, it's nothing. It's nothing what you get here. Imagine what's the Jannah gonna be. So you find all of these different aspects. This is a switch for Adam alayhi salam. He had Jannah and now he's going to switch towards earth. Switch towards the ard. So this is going to be something which is different. These are the consequences of actions. I'll give this example. If a person gets a nail and he puts it into the fence. He puts it into a fence. So every time a person does a sin, example, and he sticks a nail into the fence. 1. Yeah? And now he does another sin and he sticks another nail in the fence. And then 3, then 4, then 5, then 10. So he's got about 10 nails inside of the fence. What does he do? He makes tawbah. So now what happens? He takes out all of the nails. But what's left is still the consequences of him hitting the nail inside of the fence. Meaning there'll still be marks left. There'll still be marks left over. And this is what happens when a person is saying that sometimes you will feel the athar. Sometimes you will feel the influences. Sometimes you will feel with the leftovers of the sin that will still affect you. It can still affect you. And these are the consequences of sin. That Adam alayhi salam was in Jannah. And now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided from before that he will go onto the earth. So this was Adam alayhi salam and Iblis. You find that aspect of modesty as well. And then how covering your awrah is very important. And what had happened is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that when Adam and Hawa alayhi salam, they were hide. Once they done the deed, once they slipped up and they made a mistake, and what happened? They had to try and cover themselves with leaves of Jannah. So what does this show? The shaitan wants this lewdness, this nakedness, this nudity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants the opposite. Allah says that we have sent down you clothing. Now you've got clothing. We have sent clothing down towards you. وَلِبَاسُ التَّقْوَى خَيْرٌ. But the clothing of taqwa is best. The clothing of piety is best. So it's a metaphor. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions regarding clothing and how clothing is something which is of modesty as well. And Allah mentions, Ya Bani Adam, Ya Bani Adam, Khudu zinatakum inda kulli masjid. That even when you go to the masjid, even when you come to the masjid, Ya Bani Adam, meaning everybody, yeah? That's not just mu'mineen. Because Ya Bani Adam, Khudu zinatakum inda kulli. When you come into the masjid, wear the best of clothing as well. Wear the best of clothing. Don't come in your work clothing, as in those overalls and they got painted all over you. Or don't come in pajamas. No one likes to. Imagine you go in front of the king of all kings in pajamas. And you go in and pray in pajamas. This is not of adab. This is not of respect of now coming towards the masjid or even praying in itself. So always try to show as much respect. And the more izzah you give to the sha'air of Allah, the more izzah you give to Allah and the riches of Allah, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make you also honored as well and reward you accordingly. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned regarding this. Now let's move on towards the actual A'raf. It's called Surah Al-A'raf. So A'raf means, what is it? Where does it come from? So you find it's a high place. So what is this high place? And it's the only time you mention inside of the Quran. So A'raf. So you find that it's not in Jannah and it's not in Jahannam. It's on the Day of Judgment, and it's a high place that the people of Jannah won't be there and the people of Jahannam won't be there. In a certain place, it's right in the middle. And now the people on A'raf, they can see people going towards Jannah and they can see Jahannam as well. They can see both. And you've got three different groups. These are the three groups. People of Jannah, people of Jahannam, and people of A'raf. So who is the people of A'raf? Some have mentioned that they are Muslims, they are sinners. They were very relaxed on their salah and their worship. They've done a lot of major sins. So they're on A'raf. They're not going to Jannah, they're not going to Jahannam. Or some say that when they're weighing their scales, it's 50-50. What is it? It's 50-50. Exactly the same. So 50 on this side, good deeds, and 50 on that side, bad deeds. So exactly the same. So they put an A'raf in the middle. And scholars will mention that they will most likely go towards Jannah in the end. But this is A'raf, and this is a station, a place on the Day of Judgment. So this is why this surah is mentioned after this, and this will happen on the Day of Judgment as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then mentions 5 prophet stories, which is mentioned inside of Surah Al-A'raf. You find verse number 59, 65, 73, 18, 85. Nuh alayhi salam, Hud alayhi salam, Salih alayhi salam, Lut alayhi salam, Shu'aib alayhi salam. This is all these stories, and these are mentioned again and again inside of the Quran, and this is for you to go and read, because each one has a section, and then you should try and go and read regarding the stories of these prophets as well. And you find the struggle between good and evil, haqq and batil, and you find that every single one of those nations had blessings. They had strength. So they can architecture, they can build from a certain mountain and build their houses and so forth. They had a lot of wealth and power and so forth. But what happened? They didn't check themselves. They were corrupt. They stole. They didn't weigh properly. Allah mentions regarding, don't do these things. Don't cheat. Don't be corrupt. Don't do sodomy. This is Lut alayhi salam. So and so forth. So they want me to be worship. Be thankful towards Allah. Live good lives. This is the message that Allah wants you to have. This is the message that is being put across in Surah Al-A'raf as well. And know this, that all of those people that rejected the prophets, they were the elite level people. They were the leaders of the community. They attacked not just the message, but they attacked the messenger. Oh, who are you? You are like this and you are like that. Oh, you are like this and you are like that. Oh, you're just a liar. Oh, this is just magic. Oh, this is... And they attacked him, and he's a messenger. This is what a type of way of trying to defeat the message is you attack the messenger in itself. So what happens? Because it was threatening their power. Islam looks for equality, Islam looks for justice. And they were the opposite. They were oppressive. And they said, no, if Islam comes, then my power is going to be taken away. Then I'm going to stripped off of my power. Then I'm not going to have what I have and so forth. So let's go and attack this message that's going to come across. Further on, you'll find Musa alayhi salam. This is also the 6th prophet. So Musa alayhi salam, Bani Israel, and the sorcerers, and they converted towards Islam and so forth. And the worst of the worst, sorcerers, magicians, became the best of the best just in a miracle. Just seeing a miracle, seeing all of the, throwing down all of their snakes and all of their magic. What had happened is now they converted and they realized all of these different things. But now because Musa alayhi salam was there, and he's got Bani Israel, and always outward kind of influences trying to break the message. Now Bani Israel is coming from inside, he's trying to break it as well. Meaning there's complaints coming from Bani Israel. They're saying, oh Musa alayhi salam, we were persecuted from before. You came, now we're still persecuted. Yeah, what's the point? We're just wandering around and we're doing this and so forth. They complain regarding Musa alayhi salam. After being saved from Fir'aun, what did they do? They worship the calf. They go and worship a calf. Not only that, he had to go and sort that out, Musa alayhi salam. There were many punishments to Fir'aun before the major punishment came. So وَالْقُمَّنَ وَالضَّفَادِعِ وَالدَّمَ آيَاتٍ مُفَصَّلَاتٍ, all of the locusts came, and then you had the blood coming, and all of the frogs coming, and there were all many punishments before the big punishment of now the parting of the sea and so forth. So Allah gives chances for the sinner, gives chances for the disbeliever again and again. Then the big one comes. Then the big one hits you. For us as Muslims, we're very similar as well. Now Bani Israel and this ummah is very similar. How is it similar? Because they done a lot of mistakes. Learn from their mistakes so we don't make the same mistakes. So lots of mini punishments came, then the big punishment come. How many chances is Allah going to give me, is Allah going to give us before a big punishment will come? Before a big musibah will come? Then it's going to be too late. Then it's going to be either too late, meaning we're dead, or it's going to be so hard that we're going to be struggling for the rest of our lives. Then further on, this is in Surah Al-A'raf, that Musa alayhi salam wants to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wants to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's only 3 people that saw Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Musa alayhi salam. Who's the other 2? Adam alayhi salam, good. And then Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. These are 3 people that spoke to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is where Musa alayhi salam is given the Torah. And obviously now when he goes back towards his qawm, he gets the Torah, he's got the commandments from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's got his tablet, al-wah, he's got the tablets, and now he comes back and he sees everyone worshipping the calf. So what does he do? He gets anger. He gets very angry. So he even threw the tablet down. وَأَلْقَى الْأَلْوَاحِ وَأَخَذَ بِرَأْسِ أَخِيهِ. He grabbed the head of his brother. He blamed Harun alayhi salam. Because you are responsible. He didn't look at the Bani Israel. He didn't look at them because you are responsible. I put you in charge. Oh Harun, you're the one. Why did you let this happen? This was his reaction. But obviously prophets are of different qualities. Harun alayhi salam was not the same as Musa alayhi salam. They had different characters. He was more sterner. Musa alayhi salam was much more sterner. Harun alayhi salam was much more of a different type. He was more of a scholarly type person. So they had different kind of characteristics, and you find this amongst different people. Like people will be much more sterner, some people are much more softer. Abu Bakr radiallahu, Umar radiallahu, completely different characters. But yet when they come together, it was what the ummah benefited best because of both of their styles. Then Allah mentioned regarding the specific people, قَالَ عَذَابِي أُصِيبُ بِهِ مَنْ أَشَاءُ وَرَحْمَتِي وَسِعَتْ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. Allah mentions a beautiful ayat here. In this ayat of the Quran, Allah mentions that when it coming to my punishment, when it coming to severe punishment, then I've only made it specific that only this person gets punishment. And then when it comes to my rahmah and mercy, then it encompasses everybody. And this is what you see the quality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When it comes to mercy, He gives it to everyone. But when it comes to punishment, no, it's only you done the punishment, I'm only going to do it to you. I'm only going to punish you. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned this. And the last story that I'll mention here is the story of the fishermen. The story of the fishermen. So this mentioned, we're going to read this today as well, that they violated the Sabbath, the Saturday. On Saturday was the Sabbath, Saturday, and they're not allowed to work on the Saturday. So from Friday night to Saturday night. So what these people used to do is, they try to violate the laws of Allah by putting a net on Friday night into the pond or into the river, and they left it there, and they come back on the Sunday morning, and then they collect everything, all the fish. Right? This was their trick. They wanted to try and trick Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then so they relaxed for the whole day and they collected their earnings on Sunday. Because of this reason, there were three groups that were about. So 3 groups. Number 1 was the good group, 1 was the silent group, and 1 was the one that actually done the deed. There's 3 groups amongst the Bani Israel. You find the good group. The good group were saved by Allah, no punishment. Why? Because they were kept advising the people, don't do this. What you're doing is wrong. You can't trick Allah, and so forth. They kept advising the people. They saw something wrong, and they said, no, this is wrong. The second group, they didn't advise, they kept quiet, they said silent. Don't leave them alone, don't worry about them. Don't say nothing, just keep quiet. This is their group. Allah keeps silent about these people. Whether it's punishment or no punishment, nothing. Allah just keeps silent. And the third group was obviously, they done the bad deed and they got punished because of it. So, What does that show from the highest group? That if you see something wrong, what you're supposed to do as Muslims? Nahiyan al-munkar. We take it out. We talk to the person and say, look, this is wrong. And then we talk to him in a nice way, in a way which is obviously through wisdom and so forth. So never think that, and remember this, that even the other people in itself, don't think bad about the sinners. So don't be thinking arrogantly that I am better because he is a sinner. That I am, oh, he's a lazy person. Oh, he's like this. Oh, he doesn't pray salah. Look at me. I am the one that comes to the masjid. I am the one that does this. If you have this mentality of arrogance, then this will lead you towards worse than what he is. Worse one day. Why? Because he can make one tawbah. But for you, you're too arrogant to make tawbah. You're too arrogant to do this. So be very wary of regarding this. And a lazy person will say, Allah will forgive me, Allah will do this, Allah will do that. And sometimes arrogantly will say, I don't have to do this, Allah will forgive me. Arrogantly he's saying, Allah will forgive me. This is also something which is bad as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants the effort from us, the mentality from us as a repenter. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions right at the end of Surah Al-A'raf, the Sajda ayat. And the Sajda ayat mentions regarding that when a person is not istikbar upon, he doesn't show pride and arrogance in his ibadah. Never be a person that thinks that I am better than the next person. Why? Because this was the sin of Iblis. And this, look where Iblis was ended up. And now you find us as well, that no one will enter Jannah if he has got a small speck of pride inside of his heart. And he ends off with regarding sajda, that those people that don't do this, they don't have istikbar, they don't have pride in their ibadah, and they make tasbih, then they make sajda, and then they keep making a sajda and continuous sajda. This is what they do. And for us, when we hear the ayat of the Quran, especially when in the salah today, you will hear the ayat of what we come and we make sujood towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are 14 sujood inside of the Quran, 14 places where a person makes sujood. This is the first one that we're going to read inside of the Quran today, inshaAllah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the ability to act upon what's been said and really take upon what Allah, the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well, inshaAllah.
Found this is the first picture. Found the wallet. Oh, and the keys. We found all the keys.
So there's a few lost items, inshallah. Just go to the office if you've got any lost items. I'm not going to mention it because it'll be obvious. So there's a few lost items, inshallah. Come to the office if there's any issues with any lost items, inshallah. One more thing is that they were asking regarding parking. Parking in the ballot box, the pub there. So there's certain parking we have there and certain parking we don't have. The main area of the parking ballot box is not allowed. We have a side area which we are allowed in. They've given us permission. So please don't park in the main area of the ballot box parking. Rather, they go through, and there's a side on the right hand side. There's a small area there, and there's some parking spaces there as well. Jazakallah khair.